Guys, at the time of this recording, we're 9 days out from the assassination of Charlie Kirk. And I want you to let that settle in for just a second. I know you're angry, right? A man was murdered in cold blood. And here's the kicker. Instead of the world mourning, part of the world is celebrating. We've had memorials that were torn down or vandalized, painted over. We have people laughing and mocking in the comment sections. And here's the kicker, that some of those same damn people are now shocked that they're losing their job over being damn lunatics. Think about that. They celebrate a human being's death and then they want to cry about the consequences. It's idiotic, it's twisted, but it's also a clear sign of how far off the rails our culture has gone. Conservatives are starting to push back. And it's not because we're hateful. It's because we're done. We're done being called monsters for speaking truth. Still, this whole mess has got people asking and wondering, what does love actually look like in a world that's this jacked up? Because I'll tell you right now, it sure as hell isn't tolerance.
Leaders are not born in a womb. They are forged through heat, pressure, and a whole lot of sweat. The Fire Forged Leader podcast serves the audience through exploring leadership at work, in the community, and with the family, using a practical perspective and real-life experiences from the host Steve Baumgartner and his guests in The Forge. Now, it's time to enter the Forge with the Fire Forged Leader.
Guys, we're currently living in a culture of what I'm going to call fake love. And you've all seen the slogans, be kind, or love wins, or let's be better humans. Guys, I say that sarcastically because these slogans, they sound sweet, they sound safe. And yeah, on the surface, they sound like something that we should all be getting behind. But the problem is that they've been weaponized. These words aren't used to build unity. They're being used to shut down truth. And they have been for quite some time. They're being used to silence conviction, to destroy anyone who doesn't kneel at the altar of cultural approval. Just the other day, I saw a post from someone I went to high school with, and she's got it splattered all over her page. Let's be better humans. Cool, fine. Who's going to argue with that? But at the same time, if you scroll down her feed, it's full of rainbow flags, anti-Christian rants, and anyone who disagrees with her, a bigot. Same person who preaches to be kind is also labeling people hateful for not clapping for her belief system. That's not kindness. That's emotional blackmail. That's not love. That's manipulation disguised as niceness. Before we go off blaming the other side for all of it, I'm going to say something most Christian men aren't going to say out loud. And that's that we didn't lead well either. We didn't show up at the beginning of this battle with strength and humility. We didn't offer any sort of clarity. We reacted, we argued, or worse, we stayed silent. And we let the narrative be shaped by people who scream louder instead of love deeper. And now, what does it look like now, guys? Now the world doesn't know what the hell love is. And most men don't know how to lead in it. But we're going to work on that today. We didn't lead either, and that's on us. Let's rewind the clock a little bit. Back to the days when we were debating the legalization of same-sex marriage. That was a moment when Christian leaders, when Christian men had the opportunity to lead with strength and grace. We had the platform. We had the momentum. We had the truth. And what did we do? We fumbled the ball. We led with rage. We debated on emotion. And we got sucked into culture wars instead of waging spiritual warfare. When people came at us with anger, we met them with more anger. When they labeled us hateful, we got defensive. And when they didn't want our version of the truth, we either fought them or we simply ghosted them. And here's the truth, guys, throughout all of that, we didn't disciple, we didn't shepherd, and we certainly did not lead. And I truly believe, and you can argue with me all you want on this, but I truly believe if we would have approached that season differently, if we would have chosen clarity over condemnation, if we had spoken identity over people instead of anger, if we had met resistance with biblical love back then instead of pride, we very well could have won that battle way back then. And the world might look a lot different than it does today, but we didn't. And now we're going to have to address it differently. Now we've got a society that believes any conviction is cruelty, any correction is hate speech. That's what happens when the church goes quiet. That's what happens when men stop leading. But that can change. And it starts with you, and it starts with me. It's not our pastors. It's not our priests. It's not some damn politician in DC. You. And now we're sitting in a world that is losing its mind. So here we are. This is what happens when truth gets silenced, when men stop leading, and when culture calls cowardice kindness. The world has lost its mind. I saw a meme the other day, and it was crude humor. I'll admit to that. Poor taste, but it made a brutally honest point. It was very sarcastic, but real. And it was George Costanza from Seinfeld. And he's all animated and yelling at Jerry in this comic strip. And he says, I thought the slippery slope of same-sex marriage was that they would marry their dog. And then in the next frame, he said, not that the demons in their head would tell them to murder a Christian. Poor taste, I know. And it's uncomfortable. And it's harsh, but it's not wrong. It's not wrong. We've been told that we were overreacting. We've been told that there'd be no consequences, that it was just about love, that truth is relative, that everyone should just live their truth. But now we got mobs celebrating the death of a man of God. We've got teens who think morality. We've got grown adults who think accountability is trauma. And somehow we're still the ones being called hateful. But this isn't just about labels or politics or memes. This is about how far we've fallen as a culture. Because guys, here's the truth. Here is the absolute truth. We've got love and hate completely backwards. They think disagreement equals hate. And somehow over time, we started believing as Christians and conservatives that love equals acceptance. And let me say it clearly. Let me say it very clearly. Both are wrong, and both are killing our ability to lead. When you can't tell someone the truth without being labeled hateful, society is already over the cliff. And when you stop speaking truth altogether because you want to be seen as loving, you're not leading, you're enabling. The world is upside down. And if we don't reclaim what real love is, we're not going to recognize anything left standing in the next decade. So what does real love actually look like? That's the question. Let's set the record straight, because if we're going to lead in love, we need to know what real love actually is. And I'll be honest, it's probably not what most of us were taught. I actually asked ChatGPT a simple question earlier. Here's what I asked it. What are healthy actions when you love someone? And I made it very general on purpose. And here's what it gave me. It gave me these 4 points: active, sacrificial, sometimes confrontational, growth-oriented. Everything, with everything, Scripture shows us about how Jesus loved. Love isn't passive. Love isn't people-pleasing. Love doesn't avoid hard conversations. Love steps in. Love confronts. Love guides. Let me give you some of the examples it gave me back as well. So the first one was challenging a destructive habit with grace. It might go something like, I love you too much to let you keep drinking like this. Let's go find help together. It might be setting boundaries. I'm not going to allow you to speak to me with that disrespect. I love you, but this is not okay. It might be offering accountability. You told me you wanted to be more present with your kids. How's that going this week? That might be how one brother loves another brother. Calling someone up, not necessarily out. And that might be something like, I see you more, I see more in you than you're living out right now. Brother, what's holding you back? What is holding you back? It might be correction. That decision hurt me, but I believe you're better than that. I want you to walk through this, or I want to walk through this with you. That's love. Love states, I accept you where you are, but I love you too much to leave you where you are. And that's not enabling. It's not permissive. And it's never afraid to say, this isn't okay. And I believe there's more in you than what you're displaying right now. And brother, the only way you're going to lead your wife, your kids, and your circle with real love is if you stop confusing love with silence. Let's talk a little bit about what the world calls love, which is actually just fear when it comes down to it. So this word love, as told by the world, it's not love at all. It's fear. It's conflict avoidance. It's self-protection. It's keeping things surface level so nobody gets uncomfortable. So you want to hear what ChatGPT had to say about this? And more importantly, real life? We call it simple acceptance, right? It's passive. It's permissive. It's fear-based. It's comfort. Guys, we know comfort. Comfort kills. Comfort kills. Everything that's worth anything in life comes through discomfort. If we want to love wholly, both with a W and an H, both senses of that word, we have to do it through growth pains. Anyways, let's get into these examples around acceptance. So, first example is ignoring red flags in someone else's behavior because they'll figure it out eventually. Or letting someone disrespect you because I don't want to start a fight. Never calling someone out when they're clearly off track because you're afraid they'll pull away from you, which is an excuse for enabling self-destruction. I have family members who do this. It's not love. It's emotional cowardice, guys. And it's emotional cowardice pretending to be compassion. It might look peaceful on the outside, but on the inside, it's resentment. It's broken trust, and it's spiritual drift. And I want to be very clear here. Real love, it's not afraid to rock the boat if it saves the people who are in it. Real love isn't passive. Real love gets uncomfortable on purpose. If your version of love never leads to confrontation, correction, or calling someone higher, it's not love, it's fear. And man, that kind of love, it will destroy your marriage. It will alienate your kids. It will crush your leadership. Real leadership isn't about being light. It's about leading with conviction and a mission. Even when it's hard, even when it's unpopular, even when people don't clap for it. I want to bring this back to real life for a minute. I want to bring it all the way back home, all right, to some real life examples, not ChatGPT, not to politics, not to platforms, but to you. Because here's what we got to understand, guys. The government is not going to fix this. They don't want to fix it. They profit from the problems in our homes and in men's hearts. And I can go off on a tangent on why, but they profit off from broken men and broken families, fatherless homes, addiction, confusion, division. That's not failure for most of these people in government. It's fuel. It's what keeps the machine running. Do you really think that politicians want strong men leading families in truth? You think they want sons of God raising daughters with purity and sons with strength? Not a chance. Not a chance. So stop waiting for bills and legislation and all this bull crap to change your home, because it's not coming. Battle doesn't get won in courtrooms. It gets won in your living room. It gets won in your kitchen. in your car rides with your family, in the conversations you're avoiding with your wife, in the uncomfortable truths you're afraid to say to your friends. So let me show you what that looks like in real time. So the first scenario, we're going to talk about your wife. Let's say that your wife is struggling, right? She is overwhelmed and it makes her irritable. And the kids are feeling it. The energy in the home is heavy. We've been there, guys. We know what this feels like. Now, if you were to buy into that BS about the world's definition of love, you'd stay quiet. You would make excuses for her. You'd say something like, she's going through something right now. She just needs space. And it goes on and it goes on and it becomes a behavior. That's passive. That's fear-driven. But if you truly love your wife, if you really love her, you lean into it and you grab her hands and you say, honey, I absolutely love you. And I know that this is not who you are in your heart. I'm with you, not against you. But I cannot allow this to continue to affect our children. I want to work with you and figure this thing out together. And that's not attacking. That's leadership. That's love. That's rooted in truth. And here's the second scenario, because you know how it goes. I always got to have a couple. Sorry, my screen's all screwed up. Your son is slipping, okay? His grades are dropping. He's isolating. He's lost motivation. He just got fired from his part-time job. You can take the way of the world. You can accept it. You can say, it's a phase. He'll snap out of it. But what love says, what love does is, son, I see what's happening. And I cannot, as your father, allow it to continue. I'm here for you. But I refuse to sit back and pretend that this is normal. We need to talk about this. We need to figure out what needs to happen to get back on track. That, guys, is what love looks like. It's not soft. It's not silent. It's not scared. It's strong and it's present and it's deeply engaged, even when it's uncomfortable. If you're waiting on the world to change, don't hold your breath. You're going to lose your family. It's not going to change, but you can change your world. You can change your home, your marriage, your influence, and it happens one conversation at a time. Now, just so that we don't all think that this is the gospel of Steve, I want to bring this back into the Bible for a little bit. And what we're going to talk about is the commas of Christ. That's what I like to call it. And it comes out of John 8, verses 1 through 11, if you want to follow along. So we've talked about culture. We've also talked about cowardice. We've talked about false love. And I want to bring it back to where it all belongs, and that's Scripture. Because if we are absolutely going to lead in truth, we've got to fully anchor ourselves in that truth. So once again, John 8, 1 through 11. And you probably already know the scene, right? A woman is caught in adultery, and she's dragged out in front of a crowd. She's humiliated. She's ashamed. And she's also guilty. And the Pharisees are ready to stone her, right? The Pharisees. I want to make sure that's very clear. The Pharisees are ready to stone her. These are the ones that Jesus continually called out. By the way, everybody else he taught. So anyways, the Pharisees were ready to stone her. And they asked Jesus what he thinks. And he responds with the line that everybody remembers, whether they believe in the Bible or not. Because this is one of the biggest tricks that the enemy also throws at us, is this one-liner that says, let the one amongst you who is without sin be the first to throw a stone at her. Beautiful words. Beautiful words. However, it's only half of, I believe it's verse 7. It's only half of one verse. But that's the line that our culture loves to quote, and the world stops right there. Whether it's the left or conservative Christians, we all stop right there. I shouldn't say we all, but a great majority do. And the answer is, see, don't judge me. You can't judge me. The world can't judge me. Nobody can judge me. You're no better than me. They say that Jesus said, it's not your place, it's not my place to say anything, as a manipulative way to shut us up. But it's not the whole story, guys. It's not the whole story. That's not even a whole verse. Like I said, it's half a sentence. It's also followed by a comma. And commas matter. Commas absolutely matter. So let's talk about comma 1. And there's some other punctuation in there, but the rest of the story reads, in the middle, what did Jesus do after he said this? Jesus went down on his knee. He stooped down and he wrote in the dirt. And most people skip over this, but I want you to think about it. This woman just committed sin. She is full of shame. Her head is down because of her shame. And just like when we catch our kid in a lie and they're full of shame and their head is down, they have their eyes fixed on the ground, just like this woman did. And a priest once told me something that I'm never gonna forget. And he said, Jesus bent down because that's where she was looking. And I never caught that part of the story until then. But Jesus met her where her shame had taken her. He didn't go down there to scold or to condemn. What he did was he connected with her. He got into her line of sight. He got on her level before he rebuked the crowd. Before he corrected her sin, he connected. Let's move on to what I call the second comma. Like I said, there's other punctuation in there, but this is the rest of the story, as I said. Now, the end of that passage, Jesus says, go and sin no more. And this is the part that absolutely nobody is talking about. After the crowd leaves and when she's safe, Jesus looks her dead in the eyes and says, neither do I condemn you, but go and sin no more. And that's the second comma, the rest of the story. That's the other portion of those verses. That's Jesus's full message. He didn't say, hey, you're good just the way you are, adulteress. Just be true to yourself. You know, if that's what you want to do, just do it. It's not what Jesus said. He didn't say, no one has the right to judge you. He said, I see you. I love you, but you need to change. But you need to change. And there's no passivity in that moment when you hear the full story. Jesus didn't accept her sin. He didn't excuse it. He didn't avoid the hard truth. He gave her grace, and he also gave her accountability. He gave her connection, but also correction. And that's the kind of love we're called to lead with. Many of us want to throw stones. Also, too many of us want to ignore the sin. Jesus didn't either. He told the crowd to look inward. He told the woman to rise up. He told all of us to live differently. He wasn't modeling tolerance. He was modeling discipleship. So what do we take out of all that? One, we got to get our house in order first. You got to get your house in order, and I got to get my house in order. And then we need to connect with the people that we're called to lead. Our wives, our children, the people at work, the people at church, the people out in our communities. We need to connect with the people that we're called to lead. And then us as men, we are the leaders. We are the ones that have the responsibility to call all the people that we lead to a higher position. And we need to do that with love. And we need to do that with clarity and conviction. And there's nothing, absolutely nothing passive about that. There's nothing soft about that. There's nothing cultural about that. It's the gospel. The gospel teaches masculinity. The gospel teaches masculine leadership. Guys, let's be real for a minute. Real love doesn't sit quietly back in the corner. Real love doesn't tolerate destruction just to keep peace. Real love doesn't avoid confrontation simply for the sake of comfort. Real love is actually inconvenient. Real love is uncomfortable. Real love is courageous. It's grace, but it's also grit. It's connection, and it's also correction. It's truth, but it's truth spoken from a heart that's on fire for the people God gave you to lead. And men, I need you to hear me clearly on this point. If your love has no edge, it's not love. If your leadership never costs you anything, It's not real leadership. We've tried being nice. We've tried staying silent. We've tried tolerating our way to peace. It hasn't worked. It hasn't worked. So now you got two roads in front of you, right? You can keep on playing it safe. You can keep on tolerating dysfunction in your home. You can keep staying quiet when you should speak. You can keep on calling passivity peace. You're delusional, but you can call it that. You can watch your marriage deteriorate. You can watch your kids drift. You can watch your influence disappear. Or you can step up. You can lead in truth. You can lead with a fire-forged love. You can lead like Christ, who connected, corrected, and called people higher. And this is just a comma at the end. If you're ready to rebuild that man that you were created to be, you can join me in the Forge to take the fast route. I'll drop the link in the show notes. And inside the Forge, we build your mind, body, and your spirit so that you can properly lead in your marriage, with your children, and throughout your legacy. Man, you are made for more. You are made for fire. If this episode spoke to you today, I want you to subscribe to this podcast. Leave me a review and share it with a man who's been confusing love with silence for way too long. The world doesn't need more nice guys. It needs more men who love like lions. It needs forged men. Time.
You have just experienced the heat and pressure of the Forge. Remember, words without action are meaningless. Now, after the heat of the Forge, shape your thoughts, quench your brain, then put your new tools to use, adding to your leadership. Tune in next week for more lessons from the Forge.